In the aeration industry, Kasco Marine is known for creating some exceptional products. And there's no question that this cabinet is one of those. It is technologically advanced for an aeration cabinet. Most cabinets, most of the ones you see on the marketplace are simply metal boxes, but this is way more than just a box. So in this video, we'll dive into that a little bit more and tell you why this new cabinet from Kasco is a revolution in the aeration industry. Mark here from AmericanAeration.com, and as promised in this video, I want to go over in more detail some specs and some features of this new cabinet from Kasco Marine. This is their new robust air small cabinet design. The last few years we've seen them come out with similar technology for their large aeration systems, their medium aeration systems, but now they have this available for their smaller robust air systems. This would be packages that use 1 to 3 diffusers in their setup and use 1/4 horsepower or 1/2 horsepower rocking piston pumps to run it. And so this new small cabinet is very unique in the industry. And what makes it unique is how it's routing the airflow through the pump itself. That's unheard of before. And it has provided superior cooling capabilities, and that is critically important to keeping these pumps in great working condition. So in this video, we'll go into more detail on how this is done, what they've done in the design of this cabinet and how it works, and why you might want it in your next aeration install. So what you're looking at is the front side of this cabinet, and the blue area is a filter, and across the entire front of the face of this thing is an intake port for airflow. And in a minute I'll open up this lid and I will show you inside the general internals of this thing, and you can see a little more about how it's configured in there. But really the key is in the engineering of this cabinet. The key is how that airflow is directed, because it literally is going right through the pump, forced through the pump motor itself, and then evacuated out of the cabinet through the back fan here. And I'll spin this around and you may be able to see a little more of what makes this cabinet unique. So on this side we're looking at 3 ports, 3 valved manifold ports, and they all have brass fittings on them, so they're very durable and stout. And again, this setup will run up to 3 diffusers, so there's 3 ports on all the cabinets that come out. Now in this particular one, it's using a 1/4 horsepower pump, so it will run 1 or 2 diffusers. That's max. I wouldn't run more than that. But if you put a 1/2 horsepower in here, you can run 2 or 3 diffusers very well with this setup. And then in the middle you have your fan cover box, and behind here is a 4x4 inch box fan that's pulling the heat out of the cabinet. And then on the far side you have the air filter module indicator, and this will tell you when the internal air filter on the pump itself is getting kind of clogged up and the airflow starting to get restricted. It will pop a tab here that will show you that it's time to change that filter out. So you don't really have to go inside the cabinet very much or mess with anything in there, except when the time comes for a rebuild of the pump and you want to put some new seals and gaskets on the piston and piston chambers. That will happen every 2 to 5 years, somewhere in that time frame, just to keep compression up on the pump. That's about the only reason you're going to need to go internally here, or if you need to change that little filter that's on the pump itself, you'll have to do that usually once a year, and that's about it. So most of the time you won't have to open this cabinet up at all. As we take the lid off of this here, you'll notice that the entire thing will come up, and it's in a one-piece lid. The entire thing will remove off the front. and then we get to the inside. And I'll show you here a little more about what's inside here in just a second. Let me change the camera view. We are back and we are looking internally inside this cabinet. You will see that it's got foam insulation and sound dampening all the way around the edges here. And then starting here, we've got the canister that holds the air filter. When the indicator on the back tells you it's time to change with the little pop tab, you just simply rotate this cover off and the cartridge will be inside here. We've got the 1/4 horsepower rocking piston pump. It's kind of hard to see here, but this is one of 2 pumps that will be used in this small cabinet. It will work in systems up to 3 diffusers, which use a 1/2 horsepower dual piston pump. And then we've also got the cooling fan, exhaust fan here that you see. There's no inside receptacle in this particular design. The other thing to note, if you can see it here, it's tough to spot, but this right here is a filter. And then on the other side, we've got another filter on both sides of the pump motor. And so the airflow is going to come in from the front vent. It will route around the assembly to a intake port over here, and then it will be brought in through this pre-filter. And actually the same thing will happen on the other side. There's only 2 ways for the air to go, and that's through the pump itself. It will come in this way, and then it will be pulled out of the entire cabinet assembly with the exhaust fan. So it's a very efficient system, really technologically advanced for a cabinet of all things, but it has shown superior cooling capability, and that's very, very important when you're working with these types of pumps. So at any rate, I wanted to show you the inside and how that all worked and how it was laid out and how very well filtered it is for keeping everything clean on the inside, which is the second thing you want to think about with these pumps. The cleaner you can keep the environment around them, the better off you'll be, and the cooler you can keep the pump, the better off you'll be. Okay, so as we put this cover back on, I want to show you this, and there'll be a few tips, free tips here included. There's a couple of slots on the bottom of this, the front of this lid, and then there's slots in the base, and these will actually slide in there. And then as you rotate the cabinet back, you want to be sure to pull out on these 2 leading edges and make sure that they are clear of the rubber foam edge protection on the back side of this frame. If you don't, it can gouge into that rubber and it can kind of mess that up. And so just make sure that these points on the leading edge of this cabinet cover are wide enough to clear the rubber on the back side of this frame. If you do that, it just simply slips down, no problems. And then on the very back base, you'll have a couple more slots, and you just want to make sure that on both sides the little flange will go down in those slots, and now you can latch it from the back. There's a single latch back here that will secure it, and you should be ready to go. So this particular cabinet is amazing, and it is built like a tank. It is far more than just your typical box that aeration cabinets are typically known to be. There's really nothing fancy about most of them, but this thing takes it to a high-tech level, and it definitely provides superior cooling to the pump and keeps everything internally much, much cleaner. So all good there. Now, one thing I will mention before we close, and as promised, this particular offering is a bit pricey compared to some of these other box cabinets for good reason. The technology is far more advanced. But if it is something where it's out of your price range, then the nice thing about the Kasco systems is that they provide a no cabinet option. Same pump, same diffuser, same airline, but you can either put the pump inside an existing building or a shed and protect it there, or you can build your own DIY cabinet. If you go that route, be sure to make sure it's well ventilated. Have an intake vent on one side and an exhaust fan, something like a 4x4 fan mounted in the cabinet to pull the heat out of the box. If you don't do that, there's a decent chance that you could have an overheated pump which will end up becoming damaged. The only time I've ever run into problems with these compressors in all the years we've done this is when people have built their own cover and they have not ventilated it well, or they've taken an existing factory cabinet and put it in something else. Now these are all weatherproof, fully weatherproof, but for various reasons they might have put it in a building or put it in another box for some reason, and in some of those cases the pump's overheated to the point where we had catastrophic failure. And I mean more than one pump. We replaced the first one and then they had another problem with the second one, and when we dove in and investigated a little more, we found that it was cooling that was the problem, or lack of cooling was the problem, and they overheated. And you know, drive shafts shattered and broke, and internal damage was so severe you couldn't do anything but scrap the pump. So you just have to make sure that when you're working with a rocking piston compressor, the cabinets are well ventilated. And if you're DIY, that's great. Just make sure it's well ventilated and you will be good to go. So at any rate, I hope this information is helpful for you. If you're interested in the Kasco system, or if you have questions on pond aeration in general, just reach out to me. My name is Mark, and you can find me at AmericanAeration.com. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day wherever you are.